Anybody there?
Okay, Pecky, I think we should be on. We've got people ticking up, so let's go to your camera and see what we get. Go for it.
Ready?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gents. I just want to do a quick reminder while people are getting logged on about our free giveaway for that we'll do at the beginning of March. It's obviously for February subscribers. The 2 bags of 3 kilos of salty squid ready-mades, a pot of 12mm salty squid wafters, a pot of 15mm salty squid wafters, a pot of 15mm salty squid pop-ups, and 2 bottles of the Fish Smart Liquid from Mainline. And there is 5 of them, so 5 winners we're going to draw at the beginning of March. We're going to start this live talking about hook bait preparation for spring, and also like spring tactics. You know, at the moment we're all locked down. I know a few of you can do, or we're allowed to go and do day sessions as such. But you know, I think pretty soon we're going to be back out there, and it's going to be the prime time. So now, before we are allowed, it is a good time to get our hook baits in order. I haven't brought loads and loads and loads and loads in because it's easy to get. You know, you can end up carrying pots and pots and pots of hook baits, and you only need a few really. But the right hand ones are yellow, and I often, especially when the water's clear, you know, yellow is quite often I always say opening gambit, quite often a starting point for me in the spring, especially so in clear water. And for a number of years, you know, I've used pineapple, straight pineapple, I've used Essential IB, I've used Essential Cell, and I can't say that any one of them is any better than the other one. You know, I seem to catch on yellow in the spring regardless of the flavour. I have last spring just gone been using, and I know there's loads of different goos, but again, I'm not mad on using loads of different ones all the time. I tend to find one that I'm happy with and sort of stick with it. And if you haven't smelt this one already, I'll just make sure that before I do anything with that, make sure the lid is on nice and tight. If you haven't smelt this one, when you do, be very careful with it. It absolutely reeks, absolutely reeks of. It's a bit like onions. It's you know, I can't imagine you'd make anything that smells that bad unless it was really good. You know, because you know 9 out of 10 of us, we want to pick up a tub of pop-ups, smell them, and go, oh, doesn't that smell nice? But does that mean that the fish are attracted to them? But you know, going back to the guys at Kiana that make the goo, you know, they are adamant that this is one of the best ones. And I have used it a little bit last spring on a couple of thinking tackle shows that are not out yet, and I've used it a little bit in my own fishing and caught a lot of fish on it. So although I haven't brought it with me, the isotonic's a good yellow one, and so is the pineapple. You know, they're like tried and tested yellow ones that I know work really, really well. But this spring I'm going to be using the No Name, and these ones I've already had. They're yellow pop-ups, so they're Essential IB pop-ups in 15mm. These are the ones that I actually fished with last spring, but because I haven't been fishing in a while, they've gone dry. So in my mind, I don't want my pop-ups absolutely dripping in the stuff, so it's all over my fingers all the time. I tend to just open the pot, give the bottle a shake, and not go mad. I'm just trying to make them go a bit glassy, so just a little bit. Oh,
Show us on the GoPro, lad. There we go. There we go.
I missed it, so that's probably enough. You know, you can always add more in between sessions, but personally, I don't want it. Let's have a little look. It absolutely stinks. This place is going to stink. Yeah, that to me is enough, because what I don't want it in the bottom, like layered up like that. So the bottom ones are sort of, because you're not shaking them all the time, the bottom ones will be just drawing it in, and they'll be sort of uneven. Not that it's going to stop you catching or anything like that, but I would much rather. You don't need, these are going to last you years. You know, this is my only bottle that I've ever had of the stuff, and you can see how much I've used of that. It's not, I've hardly used any. But yeah, No name, you know. I'm definitely going to catch some on them soon. Definitely. Another little tip of my other favourite, Squid Goo. You know, these ones, I actually caught a 50-pounder out of Welly on these. The first ever 50 I caught out of there, a fish called the Chestnut Common. You can see that these have been, when did I catch that? That was a year ago in September. And you can see that these have drawn on that goo pretty deep. You know, that's like 15mm boilie, and there's probably like a 10mm hole in the middle. But I am going to re-glaze these before the spring, so I'm going to do that now. Squid, squid is probably my favourite, to be fair. I've used this on a lot of venues, and one of the things about single hook baits that I always worry about is that I don't tend to catch too many fish on them at night. But having just said that, when using the Squid Goo, I have caught a few fish on single hook baits at night. It isn't impossible, you know. It really isn't impossible, but I think obviously when you've got more bait around the hook bait, the fish are more likely to find it. But
it absolutely stinks in here, by the
Does it
way.
stink?
It absolutely stinks.
yeah, I could probably put a little bit more on these. I'm just trying to show that you don't need much. No, that is enough. That is enough. That is enough. Just like I say, you can always reapply it, you know, and you don't need to go mad. So that if I'm using pink, I'm going to be using the Squid Goo because I've caught so many fish on that. If I'm using yellow, I'm going to be using the old No Name. And the white ones, these ones actually haven't got goo on. These have got these are mainline cell banoffee pop-ups, but banoffee cell pop-ups, and I've put a mixture of flavours on these. They are I get a syringe and I do 5mm milky toffee, 2.5mm banana and pear, and 2.5mm sweet aid. Shake it up, so that's 10mm of flavour. And I don't put 10mm of flavour straight on the pop-ups because again you'll end up with a big old bit at the bottom, you know. But over the course of a month or so, you know, you will get 10 million. But I tend to find 3mm into a whole pot of pop-ups, give it a good old shake, and they'll be all glassy. They'll slowly take that on, and that banoffee flavour, like that combination of those three ingredients, you know, the milky toffee flavour, the pear and banana flavour, and the sweet aid flavour, 5, 2.5, that is deadly. You know, I've caught loads and loads of big fish on that. Yeah, they smell. You like that, didn't you?
This room, I'm not even, I can't explain. Like, so there's a few comments that people have put in and said that No Name is banned from their houses, and
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because this room, it's not a massive room, but it absolutely stinks.
Yeah, but it's going to help them find it. You know, if they either like it or they don't. You know, maggots smell disgusting, don't they? But fish really like maggots. My last tip for your hook bait prep, you know, it's very easy to end up with bags full of hook baits. You know, these are my wafters. I've got two of the same, so two different colours in there. Sorry, I've got the Salty Squid 12mm wafters that you saw me using at Farlow's, and I've got some IB 12mm wafters in there as well. And because I've sort of fallen in love with the old No Name, I'm going to do two at once. You know, it doesn't matter that it's going on the pinks and it's going on the yellows, because this yellow won't change the pinks. You know, they will still stay pink. It will be like more of an orangey pink, but it'll be fine. And in that way, you're not taking loads and loads and loads of pots with you, which, if you want to be mobile, which moves me on to the next part of spring fishing, you know, being able to get on the fish and deploy something that they can see easily, you know, and carrying minimal kit will allow you to be able to move on the fish. So yeah, it's that. One of the common mistakes in spring that people make is, because fish are getting caught, they assume that the fish are eating loads of bait. And just to give you a bit of past experience, if you like, I was fishing a lake called Monk's Pit in Cambridge one year, and come April, the fish were getting caught. You know, I think they said there was 500 carp in the lake, so a good head of fish, lots of 30s. and I took a week off work, you could book there's a 48-hour rule on there, but you could book a 1 week or a 5-night session. I think it was a 5-night session once a year. And I booked my one in April because it was fishing well. And my plan was to absolutely fill it in. And when the fish turned up in my swim over the bay, it took 3 days for them to get to eat enough of it for me to get a take. I didn't go mad, but I think in the spring a single pop up, especially if the water's clear, can be all you need. Especially on all the really heavily pressured venues, you've got people casting around, spomming. The fish have woken up, they're moving around the lake a lot, but it doesn't mean that they're eating lots. So often one bait in the right place, especially when it's clear, is all you need. And a lot of the biggest fish from the hardest lakes that I've ever fished have come on single hook baits. As we talked about in the big carp story at Fen Drayton, I fished there from the beginning of April to the middle of May. I never threw a boilie in there, and I caught really well on single pink pop-ups. And I can think of the German masterclass. Me and Danny caught loads of fish on single hook baits. And for some people, they just can't get their head round not feeding. But I honestly believe that in the spring, less is more. Sometimes just a little bit of feed just to trigger them. Something easy to eat, like a bit of boilie crumb, a little bit of sweet corn, some maggots. But like I say, if the water's clear, you won't go far wrong with a single pop-up. So, have we had any questions yet before I move on to the film, Scotty?
Yeah, we have had questions. We've also had a lot more viewers join us. So, good evening, everyone. Do you want to go over how they can actually win the sharpening kits?
Yes.
Because some people might not have seen. They might not have even seen the social post. So, just run over it one more time, mate.
So we have five complete sharpening kits, which comprise of.
Show on the GoPro, Leah.
Sorry, mate.
That's right. Is that I see it nice there. Yeah.
That's it. One, the SP Max file, which is the main player, the vise, the eyepiece, the two little stones, pen, and a carry case. I think they retail at £50 or £60, something like that. And we're going to give 5 of these away to the best questions that we get. It could be, the questions don't have to be about anything specific. They can be about your own fishing. They can be about my fishing. They can be about spring hook bait prep. They can be about hook sharpening. They can be about CarpFix, where we're going to film next. Anything, any sort of question. But if I deem it to be a good question, then one of these are getting dished out. Come on in.
Sounds good. That
sounds good.
Yeah. So we've got more coming in. We have got a few. So let me. I'll just start from the top, basically.
Yeah.
So Mick the Greek. Good evening, Mick. He's asked, would you recommend using the pineapple and isotonic goo together as a combo?
Yeah, the boys at Corda specifically, Spooner and Dovey, I haven't used the isotonic that much myself, but they rate it as one of the best ones, and it reminds me a little bit of the Solar Ester Blend 12 flavour, and I used to catch a lot of fish on that when I was younger. And it's one of those ones that makes you cough, it's that isotonic. The pineapple, again, Dovey reckons that's an absolute classic. They're not two that I have used that often myself, but I think they would go together quite well. The pineapple's quite soft, and the isotonic's quite strong. So if you wanted to smell the pineapple through the isotonic, I reckon you would definitely be like 5 parts pineapple to 1 part isotonic, because otherwise, you're never going to smell that pineapple. So yeah, if you're going to use that combo and you want to smell the pineapple through, then I would go easy with the isotonic.
Nice. Thank you for that one, Mick. Just
I know Mick the Greek. Hi,
Mick. What I was going to say is, Mick, even though Darrell hasn't selected you as a winner, you could always have another go. Like, ask another question. So you might still win.
Yeah, he might still win.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, you might as well try. Right, next one. Okay, so Steve Kemp. Evening, Steve. He's asked, evening, Darrell, do you think adding the goos can affect the buoyancy of baits?
I think they can. You know, obviously when a bait is in the water, normal pop-up mix, generally, not all pop-ups, but generally they get a little bit less buoyant when they're in the water. So that means once the water gets into them, yeah, they tend to be a little bit less buoyant. And that is the same with the goos, you know. But on the flip side, if you've made your pop-ups less buoyant before you cast them out, then I imagine when they're in the water, they're not going to be losing buoyancy. So they're probably more likely to stay at the same buoyancy during their time submerged once goo's been applied to them. So yes, it can make them less buoyant, but as long as they're buoyant enough when you put them out there, they should be fine. I actually quite like that question, Scott, because it's a very I think that's a winner.
Like it?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's
it was Steve, wasn't it?
Kemp.
Steve Kemp.
Yeah.
Well done, Steve. What I'll do, Steve, is I've got
there's your one going to one side. Look, does he want a camo one or does he want a green one?
Well, what I'll do is I'll contact him because how many have we got of each there? We've got 3 camos, is it, or 3 greens? I can't see.
3 greens, 2 camos.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll contact each person in order of when they won, and then they can choose, and if it's available, obviously they can have it. But yeah, Steve will have the choice of which one he would prefer. What I'll do, Steve, is I've obviously got a note of your name, so I will send you an email through the email address that you've got on your account with us. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
Well, I do like this one. It's Robert Collins has asked, what colour hook baits do you think the carp can see best?
That's impossible to know. that's really. I think contrast is obviously quite more important. How something looks on the bottom, and I think every water responds differently to different colours, or certainly can do. Like I've really caught some good fish on pink on big sort of wild sort of lakes where they just don't seem scared of really bright hook bait. But on the flip side of that, I've used bright pink and actually watched fish clear me out, eat everything around that pink thing rather than take it. So I can't tell you what they can see because I don't know, and anyone that says that they do know is only guessing, in my opinion. They say pink and that red stands out better in deeper water. It's the last colour to disappear. But I think contrast is more important. And then you could start talking about shades and all of that. But I wouldn't think too deeply about it. I would be thinking this either works here or it doesn't. Once I've found what works on the lake, I like to try and milk it the best I can. Take every last ounce of it. So you can chop and change, but once you find what works and on any particular venue, then I would just stick with that. I see people with 3 different colour hook baits on their rods all the time, and people say, "Oh yeah, I want to try that." But really, you want to be fine tuning it down to what's working on your lake and just have that on all your rods.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We've got so many questions coming in. My screen can't keep up.
Can't keep up.
No.
People love free stuff, don't they?
Yeah. So I do apologise if
you get missed.
If we don't get to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep bombing them in anyway.
Yeah. Right. Where did we get to?
What you got?
Would you use one type of boilie as a free offering? For example, sell or mix it up with 2 to 3 types, sell, link, etc. So there is more variety for the carp. That's from Jack.
Yeah, it's not something that I do very often, but I can't see. Some carp might have a preference to a certain boilie, possibly, or a certain type of food. But as I said with the hook baits, if you've got exactly the right thing on, then you've got the right thing on. You're hedging your bets with lots of different things, aren't you? You're hoping if it doesn't want that one, it might like that one. X, Y, and Z, but it's not something that I do. Everybody wants to be. They can't help it. It's human nature. Everyone wants to be on the latest, best thing, and I would say, really, you want to be using tried and tested a lot of the time. If you can be confident in what you're using, then then you can fish better. You know, when you're blanking, when you're struggling, if you've got something on that you haven't got confidence in, you know, that's not good. That's not a good place to be, you know, because when the opportunity arises, you're on fish, you're fishing well, you haven't got any trust in your bait. So Cell has been around a long time now. I don't know when it came out, but it is, I don't know a water where it doesn't work. And when it's applied heavily to a certain water, I have seen it where it not only works, where it almost stops other baits working as well as they can. I can think of the Essex Manor as one place. There was so much of it going there one year. It was just dominating the lake. You know, it was just accepted as natural food. And again, at farriers, they say that, you know, you can catch on anything at farriers, don't get me wrong, but they really, really like the Cell in there. And I would, you know, they all work. You know, the hybrid, I've done really well on the hybrid. I know lots of people that have done well on the hybrid. Activate is an old forgotten one, you know. Like Link, I don't particularly like the smell of Link, but when I've used it, you know, obviously I've gone on loads of filming shoots, and although I don't like the smell of it, I don't love the smell of it, when I've used it, I've had really good results, like really good results. So it's not about what I like the smell of, it's whether it works. And, you know, all of them, you know, Link, Cell, Hybrid, Activate, I've used all of them. I'm not saying the other ones don't work, but I haven't really used the other ones. I've used all of them for a lot, and when I've been on fish, when I thought I should have caught, I have done. I'd be happy to mix them up, but does it give you an edge? Because that's what you're asking me. The reason you would do that is because you're asking whether you think it would give you an edge. And it only gives you an edge if you don't know which one they prefer. If you do know which one's going in the lake, I would say just fish the one that they're showing a preference for. So yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt, but I don't think it's a massive edge either, to be fair.
Beautiful. I'm not even going to pronounce Simon's surname, but Simon O. Good evening. This is my kind of question. Hi, Darrell. How do you find fish on big lakes like Orient?
Yeah, well, that's
bit different one, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, okay, I like that question. You can have a hook sharpening kit as well.
Oh, well done, Simon.
You can have a hook sharpening kit.
I tried to hint to Darrell as best as possible.
Scott's picking the winners, really. That's two.
I don't know Simon, by the way.
When I went to Orient for the first time, I arrived at the end of August, sort of beginning of September. It was like the last couple of days of August. And from what I'd read, I thought you're just going to throw some bait out and the fish are going to find it eventually and you're going to catch. But then after getting destroyed by tench, you know, I put out 20 kilo boilies on the first night I got there, and within 48 hours I'd caught so many tench, it was just driving me insane. So, and it took me a month to start catching. I caught one fish fairly early on, and then I caught one fish in a month, and I only started catching at the back end. And bear in mind I was there for a month, 5 weeks in total. I didn't hear a fish until one of the last few days I was there, so I didn't see a fish apart from the one pull forward caught, the one I caught, and the ones that were in the landing net later in that last week. But during the last week of that session, when I was catching, when I was playing fish in the boat at night and replacing rods and stuff, I heard the odd fish out there. Very, very hard to locate fish in a standard way, especially in the autumn. You know, in the spring, different. In the spring, you're looking for them, and they come into the shallow waters. Because in the autumn, at Orient, the water's going down. It's like a reservoir. The fish can't get into the trees. A lot of the fish are in the reserves. But in the spring, because the water is into the trees, a lot of shallow, sort of the carpiest habitat known to mankind, and you're searching in the trees. I've never found them in the same spot twice, so everything's fresh. It's none of this, in this swim you fish at that pylon at 18 wraps or anything like that. It's pure hunting. You know, you fish the night, you catch or you don't catch. In the morning you pull up your anchors and you're going around searching in like it's almost like Everglades sort of like I say, crystal clear water, really shallow. And when you find them, you find a few of them. You know, it's a massive lake with not loads of fish in it, but when you do find some fish, they're generally in a reasonable sized group. So it's very rare that you catch one. You know, you either blank or you catch a few. But yeah, I'm not looking for them jumping on Orient really. Generally, you're fishing in areas where you think they are, and then actually searching for them, seeing them swimming in the spring. So yeah, that's how I locate them on that big lake.
Hope that was useful.
Yeah, I reckon he just.
And good luck.
I reckon he just used that question because he knows I love Orient.
Yeah,
he thought that's definitely a hook shot.
Yeah, maybe he's going.
Maybe he's going.
So good luck if you are.
Yeah, Bibby City's the best swim.
I do sense a little bit of sarcasm there.
Yeah.
Right, let me just browse through these questions quickly because I've been trying to get more and I've not had a chance to actually go back and see which ones are good options. So just bear with me 1 second.
We've still got 3 left. Better slow down.
Yeah, we've got 3 left. Yeah, okay. There was one about hook sharpening actually. Let me just try and find it. Down here somewhere. Here you go. We did cover this a little bit, but it's worth just maybe going over it again. So Ashley has asked, from this month's Peckers Techers, would you sharpen the sides of the hook up as well on a straight point, or just the top like you did in the video for beak point hooks?
The thing is, I haven't used a straight point hook for a very long time. In fact, I don't really use straight point hooks. I can't think of a situation where I would personally pick one over a beak point. Just personal preference. With regard to sharpening straight points, they are naturally more difficult because when you take in that Peckers Techers, we're obviously talking about taking the thickness out and then moving on to the point secondary. It's impossible to do that with a straight point. You're immediately onto the point. But to get to your question, as in talking about the sides and the front, the reason I only do the front is because I want to retain some strength. If you make something thin in all directions, it becomes hair-like. It's literally got 0 strength. And if you just do the front, the point of the hook resembles like a pick, and obviously it picks and it catches. If you did the sides, you could potentially get sharper. There is room to make them even sharper than I do, but I don't think it's an edge. I just think it makes the hooks weaker and the points more prone to snapping off. In the not with a straight point, but with a beak point, I was fishing at St John's one time when I first started sharpening hooks, and it was, I was catching a few, and I was trying to re-sharpen them, and I was basically making them so thin that I actually had like a few bleeps on one of my rods after I recast, didn't catch anything, and when I reeled in, the lead was off the lead clip and the hook point had snapped off. I'd made it so weak that when it pricked the fish, when the fish is shaking its head, it actually snapped the point of the hook off. So yeah, I'm not saying you can't, because there's other good anglers that do sharpen the sides, but from my point of view, I would only do one. I would just do the front personally.
Okay, sweet. I'm in the same position again. Been trying to get loads of questions. Been trying to find loads of questions and not had a chance to look back through. Let's try and find a really good one. Right, maybe a quick one for you.
Don't give all these away. I can keep one.
Well, you could do, yeah. Joshua has asked, if you only had one bait to use for the rest of your carping career that could be boilies, pop-ups, wafters, plastics, or not natural baits, what would it be?
Tiger nuts.
That was an easy one, wasn't it?
I like that question. That's it.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's the 3.
There's 2 left.
2 left. Oh, we've still got half an hour to go. Be careful here.
Yeah, that's all right. Do you want to talk about something else for now?
Talk a little bit about tigers just really quickly.
Yeah, go on.
Tiger nuts. For years they get bad press, and generally it comes from old boys in fishing clubs that don't really know what they're talking about. Someone says something, it then escalates, and it grows and it grows, and it just becomes like it's just hearsay. Obviously I'm not saying that you should turn up to your lake and throw 25 kilo tigers in every time you go. I'm not saying that at all. But a few tigers ain't hurting carp if they're prepared well, and because they're not branded by, obviously bait companies do sell tigers, but they're not a brand like tiger. You can get tigers anywhere. They just don't receive the same level of marketing as other baits. But the best thing about tigers is they're relatively nuisance fish proof. Now, when I fish at Orient, quite often when I fish tigers, not all the time, but now and again I end up catching massive roach, which says to me that they are attracted to those tigers. They might struggle to crush them in their throat because their teeth aren't strong enough to crush them, and the same with the bream and the same with the tench, like smaller tench and stuff. So they're attractive to those fish, but they don't go wild for them. And a lot of the time on the mixed on the big fish venues, then they are big carp waters by mistake. They're mixed fisheries where carp have grown big. And yeah, I don't think like tigers and boilie nuts together are one of my, that's just a lot, just basic. I've always got a bucket of tiger with me all times a year, because I just don't think many people use them. Maybe I should keep them because they are such a good thing. But I literally turned welly over this year on tiger nuts, and then after me, when I was finished fishing there, like other people caught them on boilies. But for me, at the time I fished there, they were an absolute game changer. And I just don't think enough people use them. And if you're fishing a lake that's got a lot of nuisance species in there, that especially like roach, bream, tench, then often that will be my opening gambit, because very, very few people fish just straight tigers. They might have a few in the mix. They make a little carpy mix up that might have a handful of tigers in there. But I quite often fish them straight, and I know they're banned at Sandhurst now. But when I turned up there one May and literally just spombed a few out, 20 spombs of them out in the middle, and put 3 rods on it, and just absolutely had it away. And I can think of numerous times, numerous venues, different types of place where that's the case. Don't underestimate the humble tiger nut.
Good bait, tiger nuts.
Yeah.
We did just get I don't know when it actually came in, but we got a good one. I think it's good. You might not think it's very good, but we'll see. Brendan Pierce has asked, "Hi Darrell, if you've started on new water and your target fish comes out of a certain area, would you sit out in that area for the whole campaign or fish all over the lake?"
I fish all over the lake. So, for example, carp are always rewriting the rules. So basically, what that means is there are no rules. Certain fish can show tendencies to get caught in particular areas, but they can also just completely, like, there's so many times when I've heard that X, Y, and fish only gets caught from here and that, and a lot of the time fish get caught from a new spot every time. Different parts of the lakes become good for 1 year, and another years at different areas and whatnot. But for example, there's a fish in Welly called Willow, and it tends to get caught at the far end of the lake. So when the first half of the first year I had my ticket, I think it came out 4 times, something like that, and every single time it was at the far end, and all the regulars were like, "Yep, that fish, pretty much lives down that end." And this year, when I fished it myself, like I fished it a bit more, it was caught down that end again 2-3 times, but it was also caught once up the other end. So and that carp really is. It was as close to being that sort of fish that does do what people say it does. But generally, most big carp that I've ever caught, whenever I've tried to sit it out where it gets caught, it doesn't always pan out like that. It doesn't. You should always just keep your eyes open and react and fish. I always try and fish for the next bite. And on the lower stock lakes, you get to the big one quickly, just because if there's only 10 fish in the lake and you get 5 bites, then chances are that you're going to catch that big one amongst your first 5 bites. It's just the way it is. And on lakes that have a bigger stock, generally boilies select. I know I'm talking about tiger nuts, for example, but I got to the big ones in the end fishing with tiger nuts at Welly, but I wouldn't say my average size was big. If you specifically want to target big carp,
specifically,
generally, not always, but generally bigger baits. If you got a guy that fishes, let's say you got a guy that fishes all season over a bucket of spod mix with a 10 miller, and you got a guy that's on the throwing stick with 20 millers, the guy that's fishing with spod mix is going to catch more. You know, the Tom Maker sort of style. You know, the guy fishing with the boilies and the throwing stick, he's going to catch less. But the average size of the guy fishing with the big baits and the pop-ups and stuff like that is going to be higher. It just is. You know, you catch bigger fish when you fish with boilies and you fish that sort of spread tactic. But yeah, it's really hard for me to say I would do it like this because every water is different. I'm always, to start with, I just want to catch. And then as I start catching, I start to fine-tune things to, like, once I make a realisation of from the information that's coming to me from the water, what's happening, what people are catching on, what seems to be happening, and I adjust until I think I'm doing it as best as I possibly could. But my advice would be when you're targeting big and just catch as many as you can, and eventually the big ones will come.
Right. Another one.
Yep.
We'll try and maybe do some shorter ones. Sam has asked best time of day for fish shows in spring.
Generally, first thing in the morning. You know, every water is different again, but yeah, I would say the spring first light is a great time. Late morning can be a good time. You know, I can't think of many times I've found the night to be the best time in the spring. Not saying I've not caught it at night in the spring, but generally first light, and that, you know, we talk about it all the time in the filming that we do. You know, it's not just waking up at first light and then being in your bag and digging around for your kettle and that. If you're fishing somewhere a bit spicy, you know, it does pay to get up before it's light. You know, wake up an hour before light, have your 2 cups of coffee. Get them out of the way. Pack away your tea kit. Put it into your bag. Get the excessive stuff that you don't need unless you're going to recast. You know, and chances are on the really difficult lakes, you never know what's exactly going on. But I like to fish sort of what I call half cocked on the difficult lakes. Get me tea drinking and coffee out of the way, and then be in the water looking as it's getting light, and then you are sharp. You're on it, and you're not missing anything.
Sweet. What's the ultimate bankside beer? It's from Max.
He's desperate for a hook sharpening kit, he is, isn't he? You know, I like most beers.
He's saying this on a Friday night.
Yeah.
He's desperate for one.
I've got 4 in the fridge. I've got 4 Peronis, but generally my bankside tipple is a pint can of Stella. That is. I used to drink a little bit of San Miguel, but for some reason, this is a top tip. If you buy the 440ml cans of Stella, they don't taste anything like the pint cans. That's not just because there's more in there. The little ones, they taste chemically. They seem to give you a really horrible hangover. The pint cans are a lot smoother. And yeah, that's my bankside tipple and top tip.
I remember when we used to go on the Gigantica social, Dan always used to drink his beer out of a glass.
Yes.
I assume that you don't drink yours out of a glass. You just like straight out of the can. But there is a difference, yeah? The taste.
At home, I drink it out of a glass. You know, when I get home from a Friday night special, I'll be having it out
but
of
on
a glass.
bank, on the bank, you don't take a glass with you.
No.
Kyle's asked, what's the best advice you can give to someone that's new to carp fishing?
The best advice would be just to enjoy it. You know, for me, carp fishing is a way of life. You know, and it has been for as long as I can remember. But you know, it is to different people, different things. And you know, there's so many people that are elitist in carp fishing, and they you've got to fish for these fish, or you've got to be doing it this way, or that fish doesn't count, or you shouldn't be fishing there. And none of that is true. You should be doing exactly what you enjoy. You know, that's, you know, nobody is right. Fishing is there for everyone, and if you want to fish like Alan Blair, like bread bombing in and out, a couple of hours here, and you enjoy that, then fish like that. If you like to camp out for a couple of nights, then fish like that. You know, there's no hard and fast rules. You just, if you're enjoying it, do it. If you're not, change what you're doing and make sure that you are enjoying it. So, you know, it's don't listen to people saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Just go out and enjoy yourself, and that's what it's all about.
Cool. I've not read all this question yet. I should do really before I I go for it, but here we go. This is from Jordan. Hi, Darrell. I was wondering, how do you go about being able to fish the wild lakes over in France? Kind of answered that a little bit, maybe, but you can go again. And any plans for the future CarpFix videos like the one you did on the Big Carp Buzz? I guess that was over in where you've done loads, haven't you? Like France and Germany and stuff.
We haven't been to any big French lakes in France. You know, for CarpFix, we are definitely looking to do some out there sort of stuff, some wild fishing. But the first film we filmed was in October, and that was just before, like, you couldn't travel to France, you couldn't go to Belgium, you couldn't go to Holland, but we could drive through those countries and go and fish in Germany. Lastminute.com found a venue, went there. But we are like, I've been at home locked up doing loads of writing. Scotty's been editing. You know, we're both clucking to go out there and film on what you would call like a super water. You know, we know that a lot of people fish in day ticket lakes, and we're going to film on those sort of lakes. We're going to film on club lakes, but we do aspire to shoot some mega super venues, you know, in hope of catching, you know, that fish of a lifetime. We are planning to go to Spain, but again, you know, we're waiting to see what happens on the 22nd of February before we know. But we've got a few European trips, and with regard to, like, I think the question was what.
I think it was
about it.
Yeah, I think it was how do you approach if you started on a new water and you know oh no, sorry, that's a different one, isn't it?
It's how you approach the big river.
Yeah, it was how you approach.
Yeah, but hopefully you get a little bit of inside info, but again, it all just boils down to working out where you think the fish are and getting on them. You know, it's small lake, big lake. You know, sometimes the spots in small lakes are tiny, and you get a big lake, it can just be an area of the lake you just need to be in. But yeah, it all boils down to being on the fish. You know, it's the same old. You know, carp. There's no rocket science in carp fishing. I know it can seem really difficult from the outside looking in, and it's a minefield, but it's all a much from the muchness, really.
Matthew Hunt is a bit of an eagle eye at Matthew. I see in your Farlow's Carvet film you had a CarpFix hat on. Are you bringing out a clothing line?
That's a sharpening kit. That's a sharpening kit, lads.
Wait, let me find his question again.
That's
fine. Oh, there we go. Matthew. There you go. What's the answer then?
Yes, we are definitely bringing out a clothing line. You know, the hat that you saw in the video is not a production sample or anything. We literally had that made just to show that we had a logo, you know, in our first early films. You know, it was a cut, shut, grab, just get something, you know, to wear. But we're in the process of having samples sent to us. We've had drawings made and seen pictures of it online, but we haven't had a physical sample yet. But they are coming. You know, there's going to be hats, there's going to be t-shirts, there's going to be hoodies, hats, t-shirt, there's beanie hats, t-shirts, hoodies. What am I missing, Scott? Is that it?
Well,
that's it to start
if
with,
there is a demand, we'll bring the mugs out. I don't know if you mentioned that. Wasn't really. Yeah, the mugs that we've got. The one that you've got on the table there.
Yeah, we've got a few. Of these left.
We've got a few left.
Yeah, not loads and loads and loads. But if any of you want these, you know, you don't have to let us know. We can sort something out.
We will do a page. We're gonna have like an online shop where you can buy things like the mugs. We are going to do that eventually because we're getting asked for it. So yeah, like Darrell said, we'll have a range of things hopefully soon. But we're trying to get we're trying to source it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. It's I don't know how long it's all going to take to come to fruition, but it's coming. It is coming. You can be sure of that.
Right, let me find another one. Billy has asked this quite a few times. Yeah, a few people have, but it's a sensible thing to do because literally there are probably hundreds of comments that I can't keep finding. But he's asked, "Hi Darrell, what's your thoughts on boilie prep? Thawing out freezer baits and maybe glugging your free boilies, maybe natural glugs or even some salt."
I've never used salt. I'm not saying it doesn't work because loads of great anglers swear by it, but it's never been something that I've ever used. one of my favourites, you won't be surprised to hear this, is to boil up some tiger nuts. And if your tiger nuts are banned on the venue, is to pre-soak my boilies in the because when you boil the tiger nuts, all the sugars come out into the water. So in that situation, I quite often boil out the tigers for a long time, so all the sugars go out into the water, and then I pre-soak my boilies in it. Now you can't buy that, you can't buy that liquid ready-made. There are tiger goos out there and stuff like that, and I've solely used to do a tiger nut liquid, but you can't beat the real thing. You boil out a load of tigers, give it a good, let them boil for an hour. That water that they're in will be absolutely full of the sugars from them. And if you soak your bait in that is absolute, on lakes where tigers are banned, that's lethal. And no one will even know you do it. They just look like you've got soaked boilies. And that is lethal bizzle, that is. Something that I haven't done, but I hear is good. One of my friends swears by boiling his hemp and then using the water from the hemp to hydrate his tiger nuts. So when he then reboils the tigers in the hemp water, and he reckons that's really, really good. Not done it myself, but he reckons that's really good. But my top tip is to boil tigers right out and use the liquid from them on lakes where tigers are banned on your boilies, and you'll be onto a winner with that.
There is a question that's just come in from Paul. I don't know if you've answered this, Darrell, already, but he's asked about tigers. He's asked, once you've prepped your tigers, how long can you keep them for?
I generally I take them for a session, be 3, 4, 5 days a week, and use them in that time frame. People say when they go vinegary, they're no good. I've caught loads of fish on them when they've been vinegary. And I'll tell you a story from a couple of springs ago. I was fishing this little syndicate lake near my house, and I packed up at the end of my session. I'd thrown all of my bait into the lake, and then I saw, as I was leaving, I saw a couple of fish near this little glowing spot in the margin, and I could see that it was slightly smoked up. I could see that I'd seen the fish topping, cast down there, not been able to get a drop, and then just before I left, I'd seen this clear spot that if I'd have been on that, I would have caught. And I thought, I've done all my bait. I can't. And then I remembered, bear in mind, it was in the spring, and in the autumn, I had a bucket of tigers in the van, and they'd been in the bucket in the van since the September, and this was probably May. I pulled back the bucket in my van, a big 10-kilo bucket, and it had white, blue crust on the top of it, mould. It smelled disgusting, and I thought, if I throw this on the spot and they don't eat it, I might have destroyed that spot. I might stop it from catching. Anyway, I put this bucket of mouldy tigers on the spot, and when I come back 3 or 4 days later, they dug a crater in the bottom. Every single tiger nut was gone off the bottom. I caught 2 fish off it that night, and then I baited it with boilies after that session, and I never saw a carp on it again. So, they came in, they ate those mouldy tigers, and they had no qualms about it. So yeah, I think it's in. Some people think they're better when they're mouldy. A lot of my German colleagues through Corda and that have told me that mouldy tigers are at their best. I've caught on them straight out the cooker the same day. I've caught on them 3 days old. I think we'll get a little bit caught up on when they're best. I think they just work. They're just good.
Right, let's go with Saws. I think I've exchanged a few messages with Saws before on Instagram, I think. He has asked a question for us both. He's asked, what's the most annoying thing about the other... I guess you could mention this about the guys at Corda as well, so it doesn't have to be about me. He said, what's the most annoying thing about the other person when working together?
Can I answer yours for you?
Yeah?
No. What's the most annoying thing?
I'll tell you what mine is.
Go on then.
So when you're filming, you're trying to get as much detail as possible. And when you do something, especially in fishing, if you cast out and haven't filmed it, then that's it's super annoying because you might be on the money and then you can redo it because you're just getting to bring it in. But if they're on the spot, then you're not going to do that. So it's when you're filming, it's really difficult to try sometimes because there's so much going on to try and stop them from doing what they're doing. It's called fishing with a handbrake on. That's what Ali and Dan at Corda both refer to it as. But it is like that. So that is not just with Darrell, but it was any person that you film with. It's really, really difficult. It's annoying and difficult, but it's hard to overcome.
You've got
sometimes.
to remember that you are filming, haven't you? And you're not just fishing. That's the You know, from my point of view, obviously exactly what he's saying, but for the opposite reason. You know, when I'm trying to do something, I want to do it in a state of flow. You know, I want to move from one transition from one thing, whether I'm in my bivvy, sharpening hook to recasting. You know, I want to do it at my pace. You know, because it's very natural. Whereas Scott, he needs to get the shot, and he's having to change. He's manually focused on the camera. He's having to hold, stop, and that, you know, I could just be putting the rod behind my head, just about to make the cast, and say stop, and just that pause. You know, I have to bring the rod forward because I have to do it in one. I have to like put it in, do it. You know, it's so exactly the same thing, but for the opposite reason.
Let's have a look. Really random one from Max. If you're stranded on an island and you could take one piece of carp fishing gear to tackle to help with survival, what would you take? I'd probably take some fishing line.
You know, that was the first thing that sprung to my mind.
I don't really know.
It's maybe
I guess a net, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a net. You know, but without hooks and line, you're in trouble, aren't you? If you could take hooks and line, you'd be.
I suppose you might be better with a hook because you could probably use line from like a strand of bamboo or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you be able to make line out of something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your answer though?
What would I take?
Yeah.
Probably take fire. Take a lighter.
A lighter. You can light a fire with your hands.
Yeah. I'll probably just take a lighter. It's not
right. Single scale or the Burfield Common?
What, single scale from Rockford or the Burfield Common?
I have no idea. He's just asked single.
Well, I've got a single scale, so I'll take the Burfield Common.
Well,
thanks.
Yeah.
I don't want to catch it again.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take the Burfield Common. You know, that's what the rarest of rarest. That's like rocking horse poo. You know, that's the last Mohican.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm ever going to get the time to
never say never.
No, I don't think I'm going to have the time to ever do that because it's going to be dead soon. It's an old fish, that, you know, and I don't think it's got long left. And anyone that managed to catch that deserves top props. That's the number one fish, the last Mohican.
Edward Paul has asked, if you were long range fishing but not using tapered subline, what leader material and knot would you use if your main line was say 10 to 12 pound ish? Mono.
What, mono leader? Obviously, he's talking about mono line.
Let me read it again. If you were long range fishing but not using tapered subline, what leader material and knot would you use? If your main line was 10 or 12 pound this time at a mono, so he's using mono.
Yeah. Well, the two options. Braid will cast furthest. You know, braided leader to a mono main line will cast really well. And if that was allowed, would probably be my go-to. You know, when I cast with a mono leader, it's harder to time the cast because the line stretches and it's coming back, so you're having to anticipate that stretch. When you hit a really good cast with braid, you know, you're just into the blank, and I find it easier to go further, but also easier to time. But some lakes don't allow braid, and in that situation, I would use not tapered line. I'd use a tapered leader to the main line. So I know Core would do it. I know Dyer would do it. I don't know who else do them, but you know, in that situation, if you're tying, say, a 10-pound line to a tapered mono leader, I would use a 4-turn water knot. And if I was using mono to braid, I would use a Marhin knot. Those knots will both be on YouTube. But mono to mono would be a water knot, and mono to braid would be a Marhin knot.
Lots of people are saying they would take a knife, which is probably a good. It's a good idea because you could put a knife on the end of a stick and like go spearfishing. Is that? Yeah. Probably. I'm just thinking about how you would eat food, and the only main source of food would be fish, wouldn't it? Really, like you're not going to go and find a cow.
I'll be tickling them out.
But yeah, a knife's probably a good shout.
Yeah, that is probably a good shout, to be fair.
Right, let me find another one for you.
We've got one more of these kits.
Oh, we've got one left.
We've got one left.
Okay. Danny Eastwood has asked, it's not really fishing related, but do you find having to perform in front of the camera a pressurising experience? Have you ever been filmed on a session and failed? That's quite a good question.
No, I definitely failed. I went to Lake Bolsena in Italy for the big carp buzz and caught one 14-pounder. And I also went to a really nice syndicate lake in Belgium and caught one 16-pounder. So like 2 films where you've caught a double. They're just, you could put them out there, but it's not ideal. So I have definitely failed. I can't remember actually blanking. I blanked on Gigantica for a shoot before as well. But in answer, do I feel nervous and stuff? I used to feel nervous, like in the early days, especially if you go on YouTube. There's a video of me and Adam Penning at Yateley Sandhurst Lake, and I was really awkward in front of camera. But that's just because you're thinking about how you're coming across. Now I just think about what I'm trying to get across, not or I'm trying to how I'm trying to look. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm experienced in what I do, so I just try and think about what I'm trying to portray and not really worry too much about it. But that just comes with the more that you do it, the more natural you become at it. I'm not saying I'm the best presenter because I'm certainly not. But I don't feel nervous. When I go out with Scott and that, obviously the pressure's on. If I don't put the meat on the deck as such, then we have to go and reshoot, which doubles the workload. As soon as if we fail and we haven't got a film, we've got to go again. So there is an element of pressure, but an element of pressure it makes you perform. You have to, if you're blanking, as you're getting deeper into the session, you start trying. You're always trying hard, but you're really pushing it. So an element of pressure, but that's not a bad thing. But I wouldn't say I'm nervous.
Cool. I've got one. I'm just trying to copy and paste it.
Hey, mate.
I've lost him again.
Oh,
He's
no.
from Sam.
He could have won a prize.
Yeah. No, I got it. The problem is a question comes in, and it moves the whole thing up. So I need to speak with the guys that make this for us and get them to just adjust something because it's really annoying. Let me try and read it. Sam has asked, Zigs are a good tactic in spring. If so, what's your favourite colour and flavour?
Generally, with Zigs, I've done best when the water is clear. It's exactly the same as single hook baits. And I've done best on straight black foam in the spring. In the winter, when it's cold, their eyesight's a little not as good as it is in the spring, I'm led to believe. Like when the water's warmer, their eyesight's better. When it's colder, it's not so good. And I've done better with brighter colours in the winter and better with black in the spring. For some people, it is so hard for them to get their head round that you're going to put a piece of black unflavoured foam out in the lake. But the thing is, they often take it just because it's at the right depth. Sometimes it's mimicking natural food in the water, but other times it's just because it's there, And I would say, black foam is up there. I've caught a few 40-pounders on black foam on Zigs, and I've caught lots of 30s on black foam. I've caught on yellow pop-ups. The Baden Hall film that I filmed with Scott for the masterclass video, caught a 38-pounder there on a bit of black foam. So black foam about the size of an 8mm trout pellet has always been a winner for me. And I wouldn't, you can put attractors on there, but I would say Zigs are at their best in clear water, and they're at the best when they can see them. So the attractor is, I've got Squid Goo. Again, this is it is one of my favourites, and it doesn't change the colour of black foam. Black foam's black. You put the Squid Goo on it, and I've caught lots of fish using black foam with Squid Goo on, but I've never fished them against each other and seen that it makes a difference. But I know black foam works on its own, and I know black foam works with Squid Goo on it. So if you're a bit unsure of using Squid Goo black foam without, you don't really want something on it, then you could definitely put that on it and be confident that it would work.
Are you ever going to fish in Scotland? David Oliver has asked.
I'm actually half Scottish.
I'm quarter Scottish. I think I'm quarter Scottish. My granddad's. Yeah. So quarter, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quarter Scottish. That means we've got to go to Scotland, pretty much.
This is CarpFix. We should go to Scotland because I don't know of any. I've never seen it. Have you ever seen a carp film from Scotland?
No.
So, thing is, so quite often people will say to me at a carp show, "Why don't you come up north to go carp fishing?" And the simple answer is, carp get bigger as you drive south generally. So it's just not wise to travel north to go carp fishing because you're driving away from big fish, but I think we should go to Scotland because nobody has done it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, we should do that. But I don't know of any good venue. So if there's anyone that's got recommendations of a good venue in Scotland, then we're all ears. If any of you guys have got waters in mind, I'm not promising that we can go to every single water that you guys offer us, but always message us, always let us know about venues that you think could be a good one for us, because this CarpFix is going to be an ongoing thing, and we're always going to need new venues. Always, we don't want to keep going to the same places. We want to keep going to fresh places. So we're always on the lookout for the next venue. So yeah, message us, let us know, and if they suit our needs, then we will go there definitely.
They must have them in the big locks and things, surely.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, even to be honest, for me, it might be different for you, but the size of them, I wouldn't be bothered, because
it's always about the size.
That's the thing. On that kind of adventure, so to speak, I can imagine the scenery would be amazing.
Yeah.
And just catching a carp in Scotland would be an achievement for you, wouldn't it? Really, because you've never done it.
The venue that done the Scottish record that's a long time ago now, because it was when I saw it was in Carp Talk, I think. And yeah, it was a really, really nice fish, like a proper carp. I'd be really interested to go and fish somewhere like that.
Have you ever done fly fishing?
I've been to Hanningfield a couple of times, so I never caught anything. I'm a terrible.
So that means no.
I'm a terrible lure angler. Whenever I go spinning or fly fishing with someone else, they're always catching loads. And I just cast out reeling and nothing's happening. And I start getting really frustrated. And
well, if we go to Scotland, that was David Oliver. So if David, I assume that you live in Scotland. So if you know anywhere, maybe that's got the Scottish record, we could probably just go and catch that.
Line up the Scottish record. We'll do the typical filming thing. We want the whole lake closed off. We just want to turn up and have it all pre-baked.
That's it.
That's
it. But what I was going to say is, I know some places. I've done quite a bit of filming of fly fishing. We could do a little scene with you where we go on the River Tay or something.
River Tay in Scotland.
Yeah.
In Dundee.
Huh?
That's where my family are from.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, River Tay's runs is it from Newcastle or something? Up to it's longest river or something like that. But yeah, there's quite a few areas I know, a few beats they call them, don't they? We'll be able to go and do a bit of fly fishing.
Okay.
That'd be a good funny scene, that I think.
Yeah.
Because I can fly fish.
Oh yeah, I'll hold the camera then, eh?
I can't fly fish. I can fly fish a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Let's find another one. Will you be? It's quite a nice question, Adrian. Will you be taking your kids fishing when they're old enough, or is fishing your escape and time to think?
I will definitely. Right, that's a sharpening kit. Right.
Is it?
That's a sharpening kit. I will not force my kids into fishing. I think I'm sort of proof that. For the way I look at it, I fell into what I enjoyed doing, and I've forged my own path in what I do, and I think it's important. Everyone says at school you should try hard at school. I get all of that, but you should do what you like. You're going to spend your whole life doing it. So I'm going to take my kids. I will introduce them to fishing, but there'll be no encouragement on my part for them to find a job in fishing or work in fishing as they get older. You've got to be passionate about what you do, and then it's not work; it becomes something that you love to do. So, I will take my kids, but there'll be no pressure to do it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. I my daughter's into absolutely everything, so I think she'll be the one that I'll take first. My eldest boy is more into his iPad than anything else. So I'll take my kids fishing, but definitely no force or push from me to be into it as such.
Beautiful. Should we? I think that's quite a nice way to finish.
Yeah.
We've
We've given away all our stuff.
I've tried my best to go through the questions. So maybe save them for next time. Appreciate everyone joining us. We've got nearly 200 people who have joined. So thank you very much. We will. We can't promise, but we will try and do competitions again, giveaways in the
lives.
Yeah, because it's a bit enjoyable and something for you to look forward to.
I like giving stuff away.
Yeah, why not? So the next CarpFix Live, when is sorry, not CarpFix Live. When's the next lot of videos coming out? Darrell, give us a little run through.
Right, so 1st of March, is that correct? Am I 1st of March?
I might as well just answer it.
Yeah, come on, he's asking me.
Yeah, 1st of March. That is when.
So we have our session film starts at Priory Park, which is your typical sort of park, really small park lake, really cool fish, really shallow. You know, you could see them in the water and stuff. Really enjoyed the first part, and then we went on to your more sort of posh commercial in Churchgate. You know, it's a members. You join it. You have to be a member to fish there. The guy Jody, he's just took it over. He spent loads of money doing it up. Really comfortable, you know, Wi-Fi in the swims. Power. You know, it's a little bit. You know, some people like a bit of comfort. So we wanted to show sort of two sort of places where you could go in the winter and get a bite. The big carp story is from Yateley. You know, arguably one of my. You know, certainly how I ended up working in the fishing scene, you know. Before I'd caught those fish at Yateley, I was a complete unknown. And then ever since catching those fish, you know, I've had some sort of place within the industry, whether that be as a sponsored angler, as a writing in the magazines, whether that be working for Cordy, you know, ever since that moment, you know. And Yateley, arguably one of the, you know, the most famous carp in the land, you know, the second part, it's got two parts. So we filmed the first part, and it starts with a big old blank, you know, 30, 40 nights, and ends up with a hat trick of 40s with Terry Earn next door. So you shouldn't miss that one. That'd be really good. And the Techers, we decided to do solid bags because we fished solid bags at Priory and at Churchgate. We just thought that it would be a good time to do it. So we've done a technical section. We've actually got two Peckers Techers this month for a change because Peckers Techers is meant to be quite short sort of films. We've done one on the rig for solid bags and then one on the actual tying of the solid bag. So we're going to actually have 4 films that come out on the first plus the live. So it'll be 5 films this month. Anything you want to add to that, Scotty?
No, mate. No, you covered it. So, yeah, we will do the draw for the mainline stuff at probably the first week of March, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next live that we do, and then we'll do another one of these later next month, depending on when we're out filming. So, yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay, cool. Thanks for coming, guys.